That's okay. You know, this keeps us all humble. So, why settle for realistic? Right? Why would you do that? What do you think, Scotty?
It's that comfort zone. I feel like, you know, that's you see realism, and that's kind of where you're comfortable, and you see that there's a path. But, you know, sometimes you got to get out of that comfort zone. And like what, you know, in the beginning of the chapter there, he, you know, got his guy Mason and basically told him, like, you know, sometimes that looks like, instead of having the nice apartment and the BMW, you're driving a beat up truck or something, and, you know, living a little lower so that you can invest in the future. And that investment doesn't always look like a shiny, nice, you know, thing that you get to jump in with right away. That's kind of what I gathered a little bit. And full disclosure, I actually didn't get to finish the chapter last night. My son kept waking up, getting out of his bed, but, you know, so that's kind of what I gathered in the first, like, half to 3/4 of the chapter that I was able to complete. So maybe you guys can fill me in a little bit more.
All right. So the first part of the chapter he's talking about when he met Mason Walker, right? And I've heard Brandon say this a lot of times. He says, you know, he doesn't rely on running ads or, you know, trying to find people the traditional way. He always looks for a person that stands out to him, and he can meet that person anywhere, right? And so Mason was a perfect example of a guy who, you know, he would have probably dismissed him if he didn't jump up and say, hey, let me show you something, right? And that's what got his attention was, you know, the guy didn't want to just let him walk out the door,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, I definitely think about that a lot, that, you know, as we're out in our day-to-day, you meet people, and just because they're working behind the counter at a retail store doesn't mean that they are not going to be a good fit for you. You know, as Brandon says, you know, hire for attitude and train for aptitude, right? So everybody with a great attitude can be trained to do something better. Guys with terrible attitudes and a lot of skills never make up for the attitude. So that's what I took from it. I also really just enjoyed his story about his buddy Larry, and how Walker ends up in Larry's apartment with Larry's old furniture.
Yeah.
It's just kind of nuts, you know.
That was cool.
So, I also really like the way Brandon started his company Audigy with the concept of running on positive cash flow, right? He had already experienced what it was like to borrow money and then, you know, lose your company because you get ousted, because the investors end up with the authority and, you know, you don't. So he was very sensitive to that. And I just loved the way he said, you know, we went and had our first event. We were looking for $22,000, which keep us alive for 2 weeks. And then, you know, he gets the report a month later and they did $76,000, right? So now he's like, okay, we bought ourselves 2.5 months, right? Like, that's just his way of thinking, right? So, or maybe it was a month and a half. So, but the people portion of Brandon's philosophy, I think, is the place where I really appreciate what he says, because, you know, we can't get anywhere without people. You know, if you think that people are a problem, then you'll never get big. You'll always be stuck in your belief that the world is not full of great people, and that they're hard to find, and that nobody cares as much as you do, and, you know, that you're the only one that knows how to do anything. all great companies are made up of thousands of people. They're not made up of teams of 2 or teams of 3. So, what you get?
And, if you think about it, reality sucks. That's why we dream. Right? We got these big dreams, right? Because we don't want to be stuck in our reality.
Yep.
But we think that these dreams that we dream of, we think about them and we're like, oh man, that'll be awesome. And then that's it. So why not just step out of your comfort zone and go after them? Why not go, be persistent and be disciplined enough to go follow your dreams and make that your reality? So I like the way Brandon thinks big. He's talking about, you got to find people, the right people to grow your business. And, you got to grow your team. And I like that quote that Sean just said, hire for attitude and train with aptitude, or what was it?
Yeah.
I love that. That's freaking awesome. And, I like the stuff that we're doing here with self-big rating. Sean's got a good group in here,
The best.
we got we got an awesome team here, and I love the foundation that he's built, and it's just building from there, and we're doing something different here. We're not settling for the reality of what contractors usually do. We're like stepping out of the zone, and we're creating something new and different, and inviting people and bringing them along with us. So that makes everything a lot more fun too. Winning's fun. I'm tired of it. So much winning.
Did you just say you're tired of
Yeah,
it?
because Trump says you're gonna be tired of winning.
Tired of winning. There's too much winning. Too much winning.
No, I'll never get tired of it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And book group, we're gonna start doing Trump impersonations.
Oh, we do it all the time, man.
Oh man. So the other thing that stood out to me also was early on when Mason was looking for promotion, and Brandon told him, my job isn't to promote you. Your job is to make it impossible not to be promoted, right? And it flipped that switch of taking responsibility for your own growth, right? And moving out of the I deserve something, give it to me, to hey, I'm gonna go do all the things that are gonna make the difference here, so that we're growing the business, and then you got no choice, right? So I thought that was a good line there too.
But I don't know if that's mentioned in the book. I came into this late to the game, but how often do we see people that just think that whatever position they're in is it, right? They've just either been conditioned, that complacency that shows up that goes, oh, this is just my life. I don't have any other options. And I think the best thing we have as being Americans, it's all an option. And so when Henry Ford first started thinking about the car, there was no anything about being realistic at that at all, right? That was so far-fetched. And now we're talking about going to Mars with Elon Musk, right? Like, it's just the beyond is what we live in, and I think we thrive in that as people. And I think, so from just an outside perspective, not reading all these chapters, I think we have to be also cautious of the people that are the anchors to when we're thinking about not being realistic. They're like, no, that's not possible. You can't do that. I'm sure about what you guys are talking about. As Izzy's talking about, you start to bring this idea to people, and they're like, that can't be done. That's not going to happen. And I've had to realize in my life that it's good to have that feedback, but you need to separate from that. And if you're blazing paths and that's what you feel is being put on your heart, you can do anything you put your mind to. And there's a lot of people that are just anchors by soul. They're just going to be dragging you down, and you're like, man, why am I not getting anywhere? It could be the people that are around you just as much as it's the mindset to go further and to go push into that. So
yeah, definitely.
Who's down there at the bottom of the screen? I can't see.
Sorry, I lost my internet. I'm logging back on, but
Williams
no problem.
Williams with SharpSoft, our estimating software. He popped in today.
Yeah, I saw him there on the deal. I just didn't know who was sitting down there right now.
The man
Great.
himself.
That was very sound advice, William.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that was good.
Gotta protect your mindset, man.
Yeah, it's usually the loved ones that do that to you. The people that love you the most. Oh, play it safe.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, don't do that.
The naysayers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's that? You talk about the crab mentality. What was?
Yeah, the crab mentality. There's a hole, and crabs trying to get out. They pull each other down instead of helping each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they say the reason I learned that from a Filipino. He said, "Yeah, Filipinos were like this," and I was like, "Mexicans too, man." You know.
Well, just so we're not having a race war here, I'm white and with a Mexican last name. I think we do the same thing,
Everybody.
right?
Yeah.
It's part of
Yeah.
human nature, and I think that's what makes it massively unfortunate. And so on the flip side of that, when you get around somebody who is encouraging you and spurring those ideas, that's when really the unrealistic starts to happen, right? It doesn't happen by people beating you up and saying it's not possible. And yeah, I don't know, it's very tough. I think as we entrepreneur in whatever places we get into, man, it seems like we start to draw those crabs out pretty often.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the intentionality of life, you know, is critical. And culturally, I would agree. I mean, we all grew up with limitations, right, being placed on our beliefs. Like, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you need money to make money. Oh, you know, there's a million different little sayings that we all heard growing up that were meant to protect us, but they kept us thinking small, kept us, you know, in our lane, so to speak. And you know, it's a huge societal issue, because, you know, just the fact that you are quote unquote not satisfied with your position in life, there's people who would say, well, you're not being thankful, you're not being grateful, but that's not really the case. The case is just, you know, that you're meant for more, right? And then it becomes your duty and obligation to go do those things so that you can help more people. I mean, you know, none of us are going to help our neighbors if we're struggling, right? It's just a fact of life. So
I wonder what that balance of being content, right? I'm okay with where I'm at versus complacent.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people just get stuck in that complacent. I think you said that earlier, but it's
security, false security.
Yeah, I feel like there's an intuition that our we gotta listen to our body on that one. For me, at least, like when your gut or whatever, your mind is telling you, like you're being complacent, you should listen to that. Like I think we all experience it. It's like, oh, I could be doing better, pushing this boundary a little more, but instead, I decided to lay down on my bed and watch YouTube or whatever. Like I know when I'm doing it, and I'm like, and I'm like, yeah, and then I have to kick myself and like get the fuck up off your ass and go do what you were supposed to do today with those smallest little things, you know.
except if you're watching the SBG book room.
Exactly.
Stay tuned,
Yes.
because it's good information. You're learning from this, and then when it's over, get up and do whatever you got to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think that there's ever a time that I'm mobile that I'm not listening to something that's you know, educational, either through YouTube or Audible or something, right? There's always an opportunity to learn. So, and if you really want to like get super crazy and deep, go get Grant's book. What's it? Be Obsessed or Be Average. He talks about all of these things that we just discussed about, you know, settling for and having loved ones that, you know, want to protect you and save you from yourself, and, you know, all of what the social norms imply we should do versus a passion that you have, a desire, a purpose that you know you're meant for more. So, all right. Anybody else? No.
I think the whole thing of dreaming bigger than you have any business to and thinking bigger is like that's kind of what I see us doing, punching above our weight every day for sure, which is pretty cool. And then man, I'm losing it here. The way that Sean, you have implemented some of the stuff that, like a lot of the stuff these guys are talking about, I see it reflected in our business model, and it's like almost reading this book is like it feels like looking into the future sometimes, you know.
It is. It's
like-
a roadmap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool because I'm like, oh, well, this is where we're going, you know.
Yeah,
long
it's
as-
completely where we're going.
So, Aaron, when you experience that for somebody like Sean,
Yeah.
does that then help you elevate whatever lid that you have on?
For sure,
Yeah.
it's motivating because we get kicked in the balls a lot
Yeah.
in this business, you know.
Yeah.
We've got a job one day and then you got to do all this OSHA safety stuff with our corporate office, and they made a decision to go to someone else. That just happened. I was like,
Yeah.
But what do? Just crank out all the safety stuff and get our P's and Q's all set in order so that we're ready for the next one, you know, and just take it as a lesson and an opportunity to engage those people, knowing that there's a lot of work in this specific pipeline to come. And it definitely gives me the feeling that, you know, when we succeed, I will succeed, you know. So there's skin in the game.
Yeah, I love a quote. Somebody told me when I was younger. It was, "Quitters never win, and winners never quit." And I don't know who that came from.
Yeah.
But I think that statement itself is thinking a bit out of the realistic, right? Like, people just want to say you're going to lose. That's just the natural
I know,
progression,
right?
right? Like, it's like, no, I'm not going to lose. I'm going to learn. I'm not going to lose. I'm going to learn. And as we walk through this situation, I've learned a lot in my life, but I'm better because of those things. I haven't lost.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm still kicking, right? We're still having an opportunity. And so, yeah, mindset's a big thing to growth.
Yeah.
Or non-growth, because when you don't have the growth, right, it's really easy to be, everything's awesome when you're clicking through those things, but it's also equally powerful to be like, everything's awesome when it's not going well, because you may have to go through that season, right? So I think it's good to be thinking unrealistic. Even when you struck out, you're like, man, next one you're going to hit a home run.
Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciated Aaron on that one because we were talking to their safety officer and she's like, okay, well, we can get back together in a couple months, you know, and Aaron's like, how about Friday?
Yeah.
And she's like,
And it was Wednesday, I think.
Okay.
It was Wednesday.
Yeah.
and I think,
Yeah.
you know, that impression that they got that, you know, we were taking it serious and we were ready to go all in, I think that'll play to our strength in the long run. A lot of people would have just been like, oh, we didn't get the job. Okay, well, fuck that. We're going to move on. And, I was thinking about it. It actually just came to me. I was like, you know, the people who are hardest to work for will end up having the biggest opportunities for us, right?
For sure.
Because so many people would just be like, I'm not dealing with all that.
F that, yeah.
I don't want to deal with that. I'm not doing all that bullshit,
Yeah.
right? And so that means their pool is super blue, right? Because they don't got a lot of people that even make the attempt to get into the water.
Yeah, the barrier for entry is high, and that means there's not many people in it. And when we are in as of that Friday meeting, so we're cleared with them.
Yeah.
You know, we got one last thing to do, and we'll do it. Just
Yeah.
OSHA training, but
Yeah.
it's easy.
Yeah, and that was what I was praising you guys on that the last time too. It's like, instead of being victims and bitching out about it and burning a bridge, you guys made an opportunity out of it. You know, and it just shows our mindset and, you know, how much more, you know, reliable we'll be compared to other contractors. So.
Just had to like Peter Griffin that and be like, for a minute and just take that one. Just like, okay,
Fight the
back to work. You know, back at it. Ouch, that one's.
But isn't that that's something that's not being realistic, right? I think that's something that my wife will complain about all the time. She's like, you don't take anybody's answer as the answer.
Yeah.
And that has a good part of it and has a negative part of it, but I think it's also to the point, like, you never know until you ask.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's setting another expectation about, we want to set a different tempo for you. This isn't just kicking the can down for the next 2-3 weeks. Let's get it done now. What does that need to do? And I think as we then find those like-minded people, right, it's like, okay, we can do these things and we can do them faster, more efficient, cost efficient, price efficient, and then people go, well, how do they do that? Well, they got out of the rut that we're not in the can't do, we're in the can do. And
Yeah.
I think it's definitely different between success and non-success. You know, you don't see an entrepreneur that's like, well, you know, I just kind of thought about this. No, you put it in, you got to do it. And
Yeah, the key indicator for all conversations for me is the word try.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody says try, I know that means no, they're not going to do it.
yeah, just be Nike, just do it.
Just do it, right? So
Yeah.
I got a buddy who's very kind of like Mr. No, and so he's trying to go on a diet, and he keeps doing this fat. He goes all in really hard, and then he burns out on it. He's like, I didn't eat for 24 hours, and then I went to like Burger King and got whatever. And I'm like, dude, why don't you like the Grant Cardone, like be the stream? Just do one thing right every day. Start slow. Same guy, right? I bought a pull-up bar for the house, and he's like, oh, wow. How many pull-ups can you even do? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm about to start doing more than before, you know, like I'm gonna do something about it, you know, and everything's so, he's got his whole, like, he's literally walking around with this shroud of clouds over him all the time. And I'm like, man, you are Dr. Negative, bro. It's like, it's tough. It's tough. Like, and you can see it in the way he carries himself. I almost feel bad, but it's like, I'm trying to like lead by example and, hey, come with me. Come walk with me after work.
Maybe just slap him one day. Like, listen, man, this is not working.
Yeah.
awesome. All right, guys, I appreciate you jumping in. And oh shit, Michael, I cut you out of this conversation.
You know, it's okay. I've been listening, just kind of absorbing everything. I mean, everybody pretty much said everything, but I guess I'll end it off like this. You know, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Ooh,
you know,
100%.
It's
100%.
Yep.
Awesome, man. All right, guys, I appreciate it, and we got a lot of work to do, so we're gonna go do it.
Scotty, we'll see you in a
See you
few.
guys.
Yes,
See
sir.
you over there. All right.
All right.
All right. Later.
Later.